creative projects, personal relationships. The key is specificity. Don't just imagine success. Define it precisely. What does it look like, feel like, sound like? The clearer your end point, the clearer your path becomes. Reframe problems as opportunities. Reframe problems as opportunities means changing your perspective on challenges. Problems feel heavy. They drain energy. They create stress. But every problem contains hidden potential. The question is how to unlock it. This mental shift transforms your entire approach. Instead of avoiding problems, you start seeking them out. Instead of feeling defeated, you feel curious. Consider job loss. It's devastating at first. But it could be the push you needed to find better work. Or start that business you dreamed about. The same crisis that breaks one person makes another stronger. The difference is how they frame it. Reframing isn't about toxic positivity. It's not pretending problems don't hurt. It's about finding the growth within the pain. Every obstacle teaches something. Every setback reveals weakness that can become strength. Every rejection points toward a better fit. The practice is simple but not easy. When facing a problem, pause. Ask yourself questions. What could this teach me? How might this redirect me toward something better? What skills will I develop solving this? Who might I meet along the way? What opportunities might open up? This mental habit builds resilience. It keeps you moving forward when others give up. It helps you spot possibilities that pessimists miss. Over time, you start seeing problems differently. They become puzzles to solve rather than burdens to carry. Use negative visualization. Use negative visualization means imagining loss to appreciate what you have. This ancient Stoic practice sounds depressing. But it's actually liberating. Most anxiety comes from fearing loss. What if I fail? What if they leave? What if it all goes wrong? Negative visualization faces these fears directly. You imagine the worst happening. Then you realize you'd survive. Start small. Imagine losing your phone for a day. How would you cope? You'd find ways to communicate. You'd be less distracted. You might even enjoy the break. This exercise reduces your attachment to the device. It shows you're more resilient than you thought. Apply this to bigger fears. Imagine losing your job. Scary at first. But as you think it through, you see options. Savings to fall back on. Skills to leverage. Networks to activate. New directions to explore. The fear loses its grip when you see you have resources. Negative visualization also breeds gratitude. When you imagine losing your health, you appreciate feeling strong. When you picture losing loved ones, you cherish time together. This isn't morbid thinking. It's realistic preparation. Life is fragile. Changes come without warning. By mentally rehearsing loss, you build emotional resilience. The practice also reveals what truly matters. Some things you thought essential become optional. Others you barely notice become precious. This clarity helps you focus on what deserves your energy and attention. Use the 5-minute start trick. Use the 5-minute start trick means committing to tiny beginnings. The biggest barrier to action is starting. Tasks feel overwhelming. The mountain looks too high to climb. But you don't need to climb the whole mountain today. You just need to take the first step. 5 minutes worth of steps. This trick works because it bypasses resistance. Your brain can handle 5 minutes of anything. Writing feels impossible. But 5 minutes of writing? That's manageable. Exercise seems daunting. But 5 minutes of movement? Easy. The commitment is so small that excuses disappear. Here's what usually happens. You start for 5 minutes. Momentum builds. The task becomes less scary. Often, you keep going beyond 5 minutes. But even if you stop, you've made progress. 5 minutes daily adds up quickly. Small actions compound into big results. The key is keeping the bar low. Don't extend the time too quickly. Don't turn 5 minutes into an hour. That defeats the purpose. The goal is consistency, not intensity. Better to write for 5 minutes every day than for 3 hours once a week. This technique works for any avoided task. Cleaning the house. Learning a skill. Having difficult conversations. Building relationships. Starting creative projects. 5 minutes removes the pressure. It makes everything feel possible. Visualize success in detail. Visualize success in detail means creating vivid mental movies of achievement. Generic visualization doesn't work well. Vague images lack power. But detailed visualization engages your whole brain. It makes success feel real and attainable. Your subconscious starts believing it's possible. This belief drives behavior in subtle but powerful ways. Don't just picture the end result. Imagine the entire experience. What are you wearing? Who's there with you? What sounds do you hear? What emotions are you feeling? What does success smell like? Taste like? The more senses you engage, the stronger the mental blueprint becomes. Practice this regularly. Spend 5 minutes each morning visualizing your successful day. See yourself handling challenges with confidence. Imagine conversations going well. Picture tasks being completed smoothly. Feel the satisfaction of progress made. This mental rehearsal primes you for actual success. Detailed visualization also reveals obstacles you hadn't considered. In your mental movie, you might see yourself getting distracted, or running out of time, or facing unexpected resistance. This foresight lets you plan solutions ahead of time. You become prepared rather than surprised. The technique works because your brain treats vivid imagination similarly to real experience. Mental practice creates neural pathways. These pathways make actual performance easier. Athletes use this principle constantly. They visualize perfect technique. Then their bodies follow the mental blueprint. Ask, what's the simplest next step? Ask, what's the simplest next step, means breaking down overwhelm into action. Big goals paralyze us. They seem impossible to achieve. We don't know where to start. So we don't start at all. This question cuts through the confusion. It forces you to find one simple action. Just one. The smallest possible move forward. The magic is in the word simplest. Not the best step. Not the most important step. The simplest step. Something so easy you can't make excuses. So small it feels almost silly. Maybe it's opening a document. Making a phone call. Sending an email. Writing one sentence. This approach builds momentum. Simple steps lead to more steps. Action creates energy. Energy sustains motivation. Before you know it, you're making real progress. The impossible goal starts feeling achievable. One simple step at a time. The question also cuts through perfectionism. Perfectionists get stuck planning the perfect approach. They analyze every option. They never start because no option feels perfect enough. But asking for the simplest step sidesteps this trap. It's not about perfect. It's about possible. Use this question whenever you feel stuck. Facing a big project. What's the simplest next step? Wanting to improve your health. What's the simplest next step? Hoping to strengthen relationships. What's the simplest next step? The answer is always there. You just have to ask. Break tasks into micro steps. Break tasks into micro steps means making everything ridiculously small. Most people underestimate how small steps can be. They break a project into 5 parts. But those parts are still too big. Real micro steps are tiny. Atomic. So small they seem almost pointless. But they're not pointless. They're powerful. Consider writing a report. A normal person might break it into research, outline, draft, and edit. But these are still major tasks. Micro steps go further. Open document. Write title. Write first sentence. Find one source. Read one page. Each step takes minutes, not hours. Why go so small? Because small steps eliminate resistance. Your brain doesn't fight tiny actions. They don't require motivation. They just require a moment of attention. Micro steps also provide frequent wins. Each completed step gives you a hit of accomplishment. These small victories build confidence. They prove you can make progress. They create positive momentum that carries you forward to bigger steps. The technique works especially well for avoided tasks. Things you've been putting off for weeks become manageable. The task that felt impossible yesterday becomes a series of simple actions today. You start completing things that used to defeat you. Remember, the goal isn't to make everything easy. It's to make everything possible. Micro steps remove the barriers between you and action. Ask better questions. Ask better questions means upgrading the inquiries you make to yourself and others. Most questions are weak. They lead to weak answers. They keep you stuck in shallow thinking. But powerful questions unlock breakthrough insights. They shift your perspective. They reveal possibilities you missed. They drive you toward solutions instead of keeping you trapped in problems. Poor questions focus on blame. Why me? Whose fault is this? Why is this so hard? These questions feel natural when frustrated. But they don't help. They make you feel worse. They keep you spinning in negativity. Better questions focus on possibility. What can I learn from this? How might I approach this differently? What would someone I admire do here? What's one small experiment I could try? These questions move you forward. They generate options. They unlock creativity. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your thinking. Ask limiting questions, get limiting answers. Ask expansive questions, get expansive answers. Your brain is incredibly powerful, but it needs good prompts to do its best work. Practice this daily. When facing challenges, pause before reacting. Ask yourself what question would be most helpful right now. Often, the right question reveals the answer immediately. Sometimes it points you toward useful research or conversations. Always, it moves you closer to solutions. Rehearse difficult conversations. Rehearse difficult conversations means practicing important discussions before they happen. Most people avoid tough conversations. They hope problems will resolve themselves. They don't. Problems grow when ignored. But difficult conversations feel scary because we're unprepared. We don't know what to say. We fear making things worse. Mental rehearsal solves these problems. Start by writing out the key points you want to make. Keep them simple and clear. Focus on your feelings, not accusations. I feel frustrated when deadlines are missed works better than, you always miss deadlines. Practice these phrases until they feel natural. Anticipate the other person's reactions. How might they respond? What objections will they raise? What emotions might surface? Prepare thoughtful responses for each scenario. This prevents you from getting caught off guard or becoming defensive. Rehearse out loud, not just in your head. Talk to a mirror. Record yourself. Practice with a trusted friend. Hearing the words makes them feel more real. It reveals awkward phrasing you wouldn't notice otherwise. It builds confidence through repetition. Set a clear intention for the conversation. What outcome do you want? Better communication? Changed behavior? Mutual understanding? Keep this goal in mind during rehearsal. It helps you stay focused on what matters most rather than getting sidetracked by emotions. Anchor new habits to existing ones. Anchor new habits to existing ones means attaching new behaviors to established routines. Willpower is unreliable. Motivation comes and goes. But habits run on autopilot. They don't require decisions. They just happen. The trick is building new habits by connecting them to old ones. This technique is called habit stacking. Pick a habit you already do consistently. Brushing teeth. Making coffee. Checking email. These are your anchors. They're already programmed into your routine. Now attach a new habit immediately before or after the anchor. The sequence becomes automatic. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will write 3 things I'm grateful for. The coffee triggers the gratitude practice. You don't have to remember separately. The established habit reminds you. This removes the burden from your memory and willpower. Choose anchors that match the timing and energy of your new habit. Don't attach meditation to rushing out the door. Don't pair reading with late-night exhaustion. Match high-energy new habits with high-energy anchors. Match calm habits with calm anchors. Start with tiny new habits. 1 push-up after brushing teeth. 1 page of reading after dinner. 1 deep breath before checking phone. Small habits stick better than big ones. You can always expand later once the pattern is established. Be specific about the sequence. Before I sit down at my desk is better than in the morning. Precision prevents confusion. It makes the habit chain stronger and more automatic. Focus on systems, not just goals. Focus on systems, not just goals means building processes that create continuous improvement. Goals tell you where you want to go. But systems get you there. A goal is running a marathon. A system is training consistently. A goal is writing a book. A system is writing every day. Goals provide direction. Systems provide progress. Goals have problems. They're binary. You either achieve them or you don't. This creates pressure and potential disappointment. Goals also have endpoints. Once reached, motivation often disappears. You achieve your target weight, then gain it back. You finish your project, then struggle to start the next one. Systems are different. They focus on the process, not the outcome. They create identity change. You don't just want to run a marathon. You become a runner. You don't just want to write a book. You become a writer. This identity shift sustains behavior long-term. Good systems have regular feedback loops. Daily or weekly check-ins. Measurements that matter. Adjustments based on what you learn. This keeps you on track without the pressure of distant goals. Progress becomes visible and motivating. Systems also handle setbacks better. Miss a goal and you feel like a failure. Miss a day in your system and you just get back to it tomorrow. Systems expect imperfection. They're designed for humans, not robots. They bend without breaking. Apply Parkinson's Law. Apply Parkinson's Law means using time constraints to increase efficiency. The law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. Give yourself a week for a task, it takes a week. Give yourself a day, it takes a day. Often, the quality remains similar. This reveals how much time we waste through unnecessary perfectionism and procrastination. Most people think more time means better results. Sometimes this is true. But often, more time just means more overthinking. More second-guessing. More delay. Tight deadlines force decisions. They eliminate options paralysis. They push you to focus on what truly matters. Start by cutting your time estimates in half. That report you plan to spend 4 hours on. Try 2 hours. That project you allocated 2 weeks for. Try 1 week. You'll be surprised how often this works. You'll find shortcuts you didn't know existed. You'll stop obsessing over minor details. The law works because pressure clarifies priorities. When time is unlimited, everything feels important. When time is scarce, only the essential survives. You naturally focus on high-impact activities. You eliminate busy work. You make faster decisions. Use artificial deadlines even when real ones don't exist. Tell someone when you'll deliver. Schedule the presentation. Create accountability. External pressure often works better than internal pressure. It makes the deadline feel real and urgent. Reframe "I have to" into "I get to." Reframe "I have to" into "I get to" means shifting from obligation to opportunity. Language shapes perception. The words you use internally create your emotional experience. Have to feels heavy, restrictive, resentful. Get to feels light, privileged, grateful. Same activity, different energy. I have to go to work versus I get to go to work. The first implies burden. The second implies opportunity. You get to contribute. You get to earn. You get to interact with people. You get to solve problems. The reframe reveals hidden benefits you typically ignore. I have to exercise versus I get to exercise. One sounds like punishment. The other sounds like privilege. You get to move your body. You get to build strength. You get to clear your mind. You get to take care of yourself. The opportunity mindset makes action easier. This isn't toxic positivity. Some situations genuinely are burdens. But many things we label as obligations are actually privileges. We just don't see them that way. The reframe helps you spot the good within the required. Practice this consciously. Catch yourself saying, have to, and pause. Ask what you get to do instead. What opportunities exist within this obligation? What would someone without this option think? Often, the shift in language creates an immediate shift in mood and motivation. Gamify boring tasks. Gamify boring tasks means adding game elements to mundane activities. Games are engaging because they provide clear goals, immediate feedback, and progressive challenges. Regular tasks lack these elements. They feel pointless and draining. But you can inject game mechanics to make them more motivating and fun. Create scoring systems. Give yourself points for completing tasks. Small tasks earn fewer points. Big tasks earn more. Keep a running total. Compete against your past performance. This turns productivity into a measurable game with clear winners and losers. Set up levels and achievements. Beginners might answer 10 emails to reach level 2. Intermediate players might clear their entire inbox for a bonus achievement. Advanced players might maintain inbox 0 for a week straight. Each level brings new challenges and recognition. Add time challenges. How fast can you clean your desk? Can you beat yesterday's time? Racing against the clock creates urgency and engagement. It turns slow tasks into speed challenges. Just be sure to maintain quality while increasing pace. Use rewards strategically. Complete 5 difficult tasks and earn a coffee break. Finish the weekly report and enjoy a favorite snack. Make rewards proportional to effort. Small tasks get small rewards. Big tasks get bigger ones. This creates positive reinforcement cycles that sustain motivation. Right before feeling ready. Right before feeling ready means starting when preparation feels incomplete. Most people wait for perfect conditions. The right mood. The right moment. Complete clarity. But these conditions rarely align. Meanwhile, the blank page remains blank. The project stays unfinished. The idea never becomes reality. Readiness is often an illusion. You think you need more research, more planning, more inspiration. But what you really need is practice. Writing teaches you what you think. It reveals gaps in your knowledge. It shows you what questions to ask next. You can't get this insight without starting. Professional writers understand this. They don't wait for inspiration. They write regularly whether they feel like it or not. They know that writing generates ideas, not the other way around. The act of putting words on paper clarifies thinking. It moves projects forward even when progress feels slow. Start messy. Write badly. Let thoughts flow without editing. The goal is motion, not perfection. You can always improve later. But you can't improve nothing. A messy first draft beats a perfect blank page every time. Set small writing goals. 1 paragraph. 5 minutes. 3 sentences. Something so achievable you can't make excuses. Once you start, momentum often carries you further. But even if it doesn't, you've made progress. Small progress compounds over time into major accomplishments. Apply the 1% daily improvement rule. Apply the 1% daily improvement rule means making tiny gains that compound over time. Most people want dramatic change overnight. They try to transform everything at once. This approach fails because it's unsustainable. Your brain resists big changes. Your habits fight back. You burn out quickly and return to old patterns. 1% improvement is different. It's barely noticeable. Your resistance doesn't activate. The change feels so small it doesn't trigger fear or overwhelm. But small improvements compound like interest. 1% better each day means you're 37 times better after 1 year. The math is stunning. Think about any skill you want to develop. Writing, speaking, exercising, leading. You don't need to improve dramatically today. You just need to get slightly better than yesterday. Read one more page. Do one more repetition. Have one better conversation. These micro improvements accumulate into major transformation. The rule works because it focuses on process over outcome. You're not trying to become perfect. You're trying to become slightly better. This removes pressure. It makes improvement feel achievable. It creates positive momentum that builds on itself. Track your improvements to see the compound effect. Keep a simple log. Note what you did today that was 1% better than yesterday. Over weeks and months, you'll see remarkable progress. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable through consistent micro gains. Think in probabilities, not absolutes. Think in probabilities, not absolutes means embracing uncertainty as a natural part of decision-making. Most people crave certainty. They want guarantees. They look for absolute answers. But life rarely provides them. This creates anxiety and paralysis. You wait for perfect information that never comes. You delay decisions hoping for certainty that doesn't exist. Probability thinking is more realistic. It acknowledges uncertainty while still enabling action. Instead of asking, will this work, ask, what are the chances this will work? Instead of needing guarantees, estimate likelihoods. This shift reduces anxiety and improves decision quality. Consider career moves. You can't know absolutely that a new job will be better. But you can estimate probabilities. Based on your research, interviews, and gut feeling, maybe there's a 70% chance it will improve your situation. That's good enough to act on. Perfect certainty isn't required. Probability thinking also improves learning from outcomes. When something goes wrong, you don't assume your decision was bad. You consider whether it was just the 30% chance playing out. This prevents overreaction to single events. It helps you stay focused on long-term patterns rather than short-term noise. Practice estimating probabilities for daily decisions. What's the chance of rain? How likely is traffic to be heavy? Will this meeting run long? These small exercises train your probability thinking muscles. Keep a done list. Keep a done list means tracking accomplishments instead of just tracking tasks. To-do lists are everywhere. They help organize work. But they also create a treadmill effect. You check things off, add new things on. The list never empties. This can feel discouraging. You focus on what's left undone instead of what you've achieved. A done list flips this dynamic. At the end of each day, write down what you accomplished. Big things and small things. Important tasks and routine ones. Meetings attended. Emails answered. Problems solved. People helped. This creates a record of progress that's easy to forget otherwise. Done lists boost motivation. They provide evidence of productivity when you feel like you're spinning your wheels. They remind you that you're making progress even when the to-do list stays long. They help you see patterns in your most productive activities. Review your done list weekly. Look for themes. What types of tasks do you complete most easily? Which ones consistently get delayed? This insight helps you plan better. You can schedule difficult tasks during your peak energy times. You can eliminate or delegate tasks that drain you unnecessarily. Done lists also help in performance reviews and interviews. Instead of struggling to remember your accomplishments, you have a detailed record. You can speak confidently about your contributions because you've been tracking them consistently. Practice active recall. Practice active recall means testing your memory instead of just reviewing material. Most people learn passively. They read notes. Highlight textbooks. Watch videos. This feels like learning because information goes into your brain. But it doesn't stick well. Passive review creates an illusion of knowledge. You recognize information when you see it but can't recall it when you need it. Active recall is different. It forces you to retrieve information from memory. Close the book and try to explain the concept. Cover the answer and solve the problem. Quiz yourself on key points. This retrieval practice strengthens memory pathways. It reveals gaps in understanding that passive review misses. The technique works because forgetting is part of learning. When you struggle to remember something, then successfully recall it, the memory becomes stronger. Easy review doesn't create this strengthening effect. Your brain needs the challenge of retrieval to build lasting knowledge. Use active recall for any learning goal. Studying for exams. Learning new skills. Remembering names. Mastering procedures. Instead of reading the same material repeatedly, test yourself frequently. Ask questions. Try to teach the concept to someone else. Explain it out loud to yourself. Make this practice regular. Spend less time reading and more time recalling. Quiz yourself daily on recent learning. Review older material through active testing rather than passive reading. This approach takes more effort initially but saves time long-term by creating stronger, more durable memories. Teach it to learn it. Teach it to learn it means using explanation as a tool for deeper understanding. When you teach something, you process it differently than when you just learn it. Teaching forces you to organize information clearly. You must identify the most important points. You need to explain complex ideas simply. This process reveals gaps in your knowledge and strengthens what you do understand. The act of teaching activates different parts of your brain. You're not just receiving information. You're actively reconstructing it. You're anticipating questions. You're thinking about how to make concepts clear to someone else. This mental work deepens your own comprehension. You don't need a formal classroom to use this technique. Explain concepts to friends. Write blog posts about what you're learning. Create presentations for colleagues. Record videos for yourself. Even explaining to an imaginary audience works. The key is articulating your understanding in words. Teaching also forces you to simplify. Complex jargon won't work when explaining to beginners. You must find clear, simple language. This simplification process often leads to breakthrough insights. You discover the core essence of ideas that seemed complicated before. Use this method for any subject you want to master. New software. Business strategies. Creative techniques. Scientific concepts. The more you practice explaining these topics, the better you understand them. Teaching becomes a powerful tool for your own learning and development. Focus on high-leverage activities. Focus on high-leverage activities means identifying actions that produce disproportionate results. Not all work is equal. Some tasks create massive impact with minimal effort. Others consume time and energy while producing little value. The key is learning to distinguish between them. Then ruthlessly prioritizing the high-leverage activities. High-leverage activities often involve systems, relationships, and skills. Building a good system saves time repeatedly. Nurturing key relationships opens multiple opportunities. Developing valuable skills compounds over years. These investments pay dividends long after the initial effort. Low-leverage activities feel productive but don't move the needle. Checking email constantly. Attending unnecessary meetings. Perfecting unimportant details. These tasks keep you busy without creating meaningful progress toward your goals. To identify high-leverage activities, ask powerful questions. What would happen if I stopped doing this completely? Which of my activities create the most value? What tasks, if done excellently, would make everything else easier? The answers point toward your highest leverage opportunities. Protect time for high-leverage work. Schedule it first. Defend it from interruptions. Say no to low-leverage requests that compete for this precious time. This might feel uncomfortable initially. You'll seem less busy. But you'll accomplish far more of what actually matters. Apply the 80-20 rule ruthlessly. Apply the 80-20 rule ruthlessly means identifying the vital few among the trivial many. The Pareto principle states that roughly 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. This pattern appears everywhere. 20% of customers generate 80% of revenue. 20% of activities produce 80% of happiness. 20% of problems cause 80% of stress. Most people spread effort evenly across all activities. This is inefficient. It treats important and unimportant tasks equally. Ruthless application means dramatically different treatment. You spend most time and energy on the vital 20%. You minimize or eliminate the trivial 80%. Start by identifying your 20% in different life areas. Which relationships bring the most joy? Which work tasks create the most value? Which possessions do you actually use? Which activities energize you most? These are your vital few. They deserve premium attention and resources. Next, examine your trivial 80%. What can you eliminate completely? What can you delegate? What can you do with minimal effort? Be honest about activities that feel important but don't actually matter. Social obligations that drain you. Projects that seem urgent but aren't valuable. Habits that consume time without creating benefit. This approach requires saying no frequently. You'll disappoint some people. You'll miss some opportunities. But you'll excel at what matters most. Your results will improve dramatically because you're focusing energy where it counts. Keep a decision journal. Keep a decision journal means recording your choices and the reasoning behind them. Most people make decisions then forget about them. They don't track outcomes. They don't learn from patterns. This wastes valuable feedback that could improve future decision-making. A decision journal captures this learning opportunity. Write down important decisions when you make them. Include the options you considered. Note the factors that influenced your choice. Record your prediction about the outcome. Capture your confidence level. This snapshot preserves your thinking at decision time before results bias your memory. Review entries regularly. Look for patterns in good and bad decisions. What factors consistently led to positive outcomes? Which reasoning patterns created problems? How accurate were your predictions? This analysis reveals your decision-making strengths and blind spots. The journal improves decisions in real time. Knowing you'll record your reasoning makes you think more carefully. It reduces impulsive choices. It encourages you to consider multiple options. It makes your decision process more deliberate and thorough. Focus on consequential decisions. Career moves. Major purchases. Important relationships. Investment choices. Health decisions. Don't journal every minor choice or you'll get overwhelmed. But capture the decisions that significantly impact your life. These are where better decision-making creates the most value. Visualize worst case to reduce anxiety. Visualize worst case to reduce anxiety means confronting fears to diminish their power. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty. Your mind imagines vague disasters. The unknown feels threatening. But when you deliberately visualize specific worst-case scenarios, something interesting happens. They become less scary. You realize you could handle them better than expected. Start with the situation causing anxiety. Maybe it's a job interview. A difficult conversation. A presentation. Instead of avoiding thoughts about what could go wrong, lean into them. What's the absolute worst that could happen? Really think it through. Be specific and realistic. Often, the worst case isn't as bad as your anxious mind suggests. You might embarrass yourself in the presentation. But you wouldn't die. Your career wouldn't end. People would forget quickly. You could recover and try again. This perspective reduces the threat level. Even genuinely bad outcomes become manageable when examined closely. Losing your job is scary. But you have savings. You could find another position. You might even discover better opportunities. You have more resilience and resources than anxiety acknowledges. This visualization also enables preparation. If you know what could go wrong, you can plan responses. Have backup plans. Practice recovery strategies. This preparation further reduces anxiety because you feel more in control. Schedule thinking time. Schedule thinking time means protecting space for reflection and planning. Most people stay constantly busy. They respond to urgent requests all day. They fill every moment with activity. This leaves no time for deep thinking. No space to process information. No opportunity to make connections or generate insights. Thinking time is different from busy work. It's unstructured reflection, strategic planning, creative exploration, problem solving without interruption. This mental space is where breakthrough ideas emerge, where important decisions get made, where scattered thoughts become clear direction. Block specific times for thinking. Put it on your calendar like any important meeting. Protect this time from interruptions. Turn off notifications. Find a quiet space. Let people know you're unavailable. Treat thinking time as seriously as you treat client meetings or important calls. Use this time flexibly. Sometimes plan upcoming projects. Sometimes reflect on recent experiences. Sometimes just let your mind wander. Different types of thinking serve different purposes. Planning creates clarity. Reflection creates learning. Wandering creates unexpected connections. Start small if thinking time feels uncomfortable. Even 15 minutes daily makes a difference. Gradually increase as you see the value. Many successful people credit regular thinking time as crucial to their achievements. They don't just work harder. They think better about their work. Use if-then planning. Use if-then planning means preparing responses to anticipated situations. Most plans assume everything will go smoothly. They don't account for obstacles, distractions, or changing circumstances. When problems arise, you're caught off guard. You make poor decisions under pressure. If-then planning prepares you for likely challenges before they occur. The format is simple. If X happens, then I will do Y. This creates implementation intentions. Pre-made decisions for common scenarios. You're not deciding what to do when stressed or rushed. You're executing a plan you made when thinking clearly. For example, if I feel like skipping my workout, then I will put on my exercise clothes anyway. This removes the decision-making burden when motivation is low. You don't debate whether to exercise. You follow the predetermined plan. If-then plans work because they're specific and actionable. Vague intentions like, I'll eat healthier, don't survive real-world pressures. But, if I'm hungry at 3 p.m., then I will eat the apple one packed, creates clear guidance. It reduces willpower requirements and improves follow-through. Create if-then plans for your most important goals. Anticipate obstacles you're likely to face. Design specific responses. Practice these responses mentally. When challenges arise, you'll be prepared. Your success rate will improve because you've planned for both ideal conditions and reality. Stack habits for growth. Stack habits for growth means building sequences of positive behaviors that reinforce each other. Individual habits are powerful. But habit stacks are exponentially more powerful. They create momentum that carries you through multiple beneficial activities. One good habit triggers the next, creating positive cascades throughout your day. Start with a foundational habit you already do consistently. This becomes your anchor. Then add related habits immediately before or after. The sequence becomes automatic. You don't make separate decisions for each habit. You execute the entire stack as one routine. For example, a morning stack might be, wake up, make bed, drink water, meditate, exercise, shower, review daily priorities. Each step flows naturally to the next. The stack becomes stronger than individual habits because skipping one feels like breaking a chain. Design stacks around specific themes or times. A learning stack for professional development. A health stack for physical well-being. An evening stack for better sleep. This organization makes stacks easier to remember and more likely to stick. Start small and add gradually. Begin with 2 or 3 related habits. Once that sequence feels automatic, add another habit. This prevents overwhelm while building powerful routines. Over time, you'll have extensive stacks that create compound benefits across multiple life areas. Use deadlines as creative constraints. Use deadlines as creative constraints means harnessing time pressure to boost innovation. Most people see deadlines as creativity killers. They believe unlimited time produces better ideas. But research shows the opposite. Constraints often enhance creativity. They force you to think differently. They push you beyond obvious solutions. Deadlines eliminate option paralysis. When time is unlimited, you can pursue any direction. This freedom becomes paralyzing. You second-guess every choice. You never commit fully to any path. Time constraints force decisions. They push you to act on good enough ideas rather than searching endlessly for perfect ones. Pressure also activates different thinking patterns. When relaxed, you often rely on familiar approaches. When pressured, you break normal patterns. You try unusual combinations. You take creative risks you wouldn't normally consider. Some of your best ideas emerge under pressure. Create artificial deadlines even when real ones don't exist. Tell people when you'll deliver. Schedule presentations. Set personal challenges. The external commitment makes the deadline feel real. It creates urgency that drives creativity. Use different types of constraints beyond time. Budget limits. Word counts. Material restrictions. Format requirements. Each constraint forces different creative solutions. They prevent you from defaulting to expensive, complex, or lengthy approaches. They push you toward elegant simplicity. Break patterns to spark ideas. Break patterns to spark ideas means deliberately disrupting routines to stimulate creative thinking. Your brain loves patterns. They're efficient. They save mental energy. But they also create mental ruts. You think the same thoughts. You notice the same things. You generate the same solutions. Breaking patterns jolts your brain into new perspectives. Start with physical patterns. Take different routes to work. Sit in different chairs. Use your non-dominant hand for simple tasks. These small changes activate different neural pathways. They make your brain more alert. They create new associations and connections. Try temporal pattern breaks. Work at different times of day. Change your morning routine. Eat lunch at unusual hours. Different timing creates different mental states. You might discover you're more creative in the evening or more focused before dawn. Break social patterns too. Talk to different types of people. Visit new places. Attend unfamiliar events. Different inputs create different outputs. Fresh perspectives challenge your assumptions. They introduce concepts you hadn't considered. Use random inputs deliberately. Open a book to a random page and incorporate that concept into your project. Ask a child what they think about your problem. Look at how completely different industries handle similar challenges. These unexpected connections often spark breakthrough insights. Use constraint thinking. Use constraint thinking means deliberately limiting options to enhance problem solving. Unlimited freedom sounds appealing. But it often leads to decision paralysis and mediocre solutions. Constraints force creativity. They push you to do more with less. They lead to elegant, innovative approaches you wouldn't discover with unlimited resources. Start with resource constraints. What if you had half the budget? What if you had 1/3 the time? What if you could only use 3 words? These limitations force you to focus on essentials. They eliminate nice-to-have features that don't add real value. Try format constraints. Write your proposal in 1 page. Explain your idea in 60 seconds. Create your solution using only materials you have at home. These restrictions push you toward clarity and simplicity. They prevent overthinking and over-engineering. Use constraint games to generate ideas. What's the worst solution you could imagine? How would a child solve this problem? What would the solution look like if it had to be completely free? These thought experiments reveal assumptions you didn't know you were making. Apply constraints to learning too. Study a topic for exactly 30 minutes. Read only primary sources. Learn from practitioners, not theorists. These boundaries force focused attention. They prevent endless research that delays action. Prime your mind before sleep. Prime your mind before sleep means programming your subconscious with specific inputs before rest. Your brain continues working while you sleep. It processes the day's information. It makes connections. It solves problems. You can influence this process by carefully choosing what you think about before sleeping. Review important information before bed. Study notes for tomorrow's presentation. Think through challenges you're facing. Contemplate goals you're working toward. Your sleeping brain will continue processing these topics. You often wake up with new insights or clearer perspectives. Ask yourself questions before sleeping. What's one thing I could do better tomorrow? How might I approach this problem differently? What am I missing about this situation? Your subconscious works on questions while you rest. Solutions often emerge in the morning that weren't apparent the night before. Avoid negative inputs before bed. Don't end your day with news, arguments, or work stress. These inputs continue cycling through your mind during sleep. They create restless nights and anxious mornings. Instead, choose positive, constructive thoughts that serve your goals. Keep paper by your bed for capturing insights. Sometimes you'll wake with clear ideas or solutions. Write them down immediately before they fade. This practice trains your mind to work productively during sleep because it knows the insights will be captured and used. Practice opposite thinking. Practice opposite thinking means deliberately considering the reverse of your initial thoughts. Most people think in one direction. They follow familiar patterns. They pursue obvious solutions. But the opposite direction often reveals surprising insights. It exposes assumptions you didn't know you were making. It opens pathways you wouldn't normally explore. When facing any problem, ask yourself what the opposite approach would look like. If you're trying to gain customers, consider how you might lose them. This reveals what drives them away. If you want to be more productive, think about what makes you least productive. This highlights obstacles to eliminate. Opposite thinking works especially well for personal development. Want to build confidence? Study what destroys confidence. Want better relationships? Examine what ruins relationships. Want to be happier? Identify what consistently makes you miserable. The reverse perspective clarifies what to avoid and what to embrace. Use this technique for creative projects too. If you're designing something beautiful, consider what would make it ugly. If you're writing something engaging, think about what would bore readers. These opposite explorations often lead to breakthrough insights about what truly works. The practice requires mental flexibility. Your brain resists thinking backwards. It feels unnatural. But this resistance is exactly why opposite thinking is valuable. It forces you beyond automatic responses. It activates different neural pathways. It generates options you'd never discover through conventional thinking alone. Use environment cues for action. Use environment cues for action means designing your surroundings to trigger desired behaviors. Willpower is limited. Motivation comes and goes. But environmental cues work automatically. They prompt action without requiring decisions. A well-designed environment makes good choices easier and bad choices harder. Place visual reminders where you'll see them. Put your running shoes by the door if you want to exercise more. Keep healthy snacks at eye level and junk food hidden. Set up your workspace the night before so morning productivity feels effortless. These cues eliminate decision fatigue and reduce friction for positive actions. Remove cues for unwanted behaviors. Hide your phone charger in another room to reduce mindless scrolling. Clear your desk of distracting items. Don't keep tempting foods in easy reach. Making bad choices slightly harder dramatically improves your success rate. Design different environments for different goals. Create a specific reading corner with good lighting and no distractions. Set up a dedicated workspace that signals focus time. Have a relaxation area free from work materials. Your brain learns to associate each environment with its intended behavior. Use the 2-minute rule for environmental design. If changing something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Move the book to your nightstand. Put the guitar where you'll see it. Place the vitamins by your coffee maker. Small environmental changes create big behavioral shifts over time. Batch similar tasks. Batch similar tasks means grouping related activities to maximize efficiency and focus. Task switching is expensive for your brain. Every transition requires mental recalibration. You lose time and energy constantly shifting between different types of work. Batching eliminates these switching costs by keeping you in the same mental mode for extended periods. Identify tasks that use similar mental resources. All your phone calls in one block. All your email responses in another. All your creative work during your peak energy hours. All your administrative tasks when energy is lower. This grouping prevents the mental whiplash of jumping between completely different activities. Create themed time blocks in your schedule. Monday mornings for planning. Tuesday afternoons for meetings. Wednesday mornings for deep work. Friday afternoons for catching up and organizing. These patterns train your brain to expect certain types of work at certain times. Batch similar tasks within single work sessions too. When writing, do all your research first, then all your outlining, then all your drafting. When organizing, collect everything first, then sort everything, then put everything away. This sequential approach is more efficient than mixing all activities together. The technique works for personal tasks as well. Batch all your errands into one trip. Do all your meal prep in one session. Handle all your household maintenance on the same day. This concentrated effort often takes less total time than spreading tasks throughout the week. Focus on inputs you control. Focus on inputs you control means directing energy toward actions rather than outcomes. Most people obsess over results they can't directly control. Sales numbers. Other people's opinions. Competition behavior. Market conditions. This creates anxiety and frustration. You can't control results, but you can control the inputs that influence results. Identify the specific actions within your control that contribute to desired outcomes. You can't control whether you get the job, but you can control how well you prepare for the interview. You can't control whether your presentation succeeds, but you can control your research, practice, and delivery. Make your controlled input specific and measurable. Instead of work harder, define make 10 sales calls daily. Instead of eat better, specify eat vegetables with every meal. Instead of improve relationships, commit to have one meaningful conversation weekly with someone important. Track your inputs, not just your outcomes. Keep score of calls made, pages written, workouts completed, books read. This tracking keeps you focused on what you can actually influence. It provides daily wins even when larger results take time to materialize. When outcomes disappoint, resist the urge to change strategies immediately. First examine whether you consistently executed your controlled inputs. Often, the strategy is fine but the execution was inconsistent. Focus on input consistency before questioning your approach. Apply the 2-minute rule. Apply the 2-minute rule means immediately completing any task that takes less than 2 minutes. Small tasks accumulate quickly. They clutter your mind and your to-do list. They create background stress even though individually they're insignificant. The 2-minute rule prevents this accumulation by handling small tasks immediately rather than postponing them. When you encounter a quick task, ask whether it takes less than 2 minutes. Replying to a simple email. Filing a document. Making a brief phone call. Washing a dish. If yes, do it immediately instead of adding it to your task list. This prevents small tasks from multiplying into overwhelming piles. The rule works because 2 minutes is shorter than the time it takes to capture, organize, and later retrieve a task. Writing, reply to John's email, on your list, then later finding and completing it actually takes longer than just replying immediately. The immediate action is more efficient. Use the rule for maintenance activities too. Clean up your workspace at the end of each day. Put items back where they belong immediately after use. Address small problems before they become big problems. These tiny investments prevent larger time costs later. Be realistic about time estimates. People often underestimate how long tasks actually take. If you're not sure whether something takes 2 minutes, it probably takes longer. Don't use the rule as an excuse to start major tasks. Reserve it for genuinely quick actions that would otherwise accumulate unnecessarily. Think in terms of opportunity cost. Think in terms of opportunity cost means considering what you give up when making choices. Every decision has two parts. What you choose to do. What you choose not to do. Most people focus only on the first part. They evaluate options in isolation. But the second part often matters more. The opportunities you sacrifice may be more valuable than the ones you pursue. When evaluating any choice, ask what else you could do with the same resources. Time, money, and energy are finite. Spending them on one activity means not spending them on alternatives. Make these trade-offs explicit rather than ignoring them. This thinking reveals hidden costs of seemingly good opportunities. That networking event might be valuable, but attending means missing time with family or working on important projects. That additional responsibility might advance your career, but it might also prevent you from developing other crucial skills. Apply opportunity cost thinking to both big and small decisions. Career moves and investment choices obviously warrant this analysis. But daily choices matter too. Every hour spent on social media is an hour not spent reading, exercising, or building relationships. These small trade-offs compound over time. Use opportunity cost to say no more effectively. Instead of just declining requests, consider what you're protecting. I can't take on this project because I'm committed to finishing my current priorities. This reframe makes boundaries feel more principled than arbitrary. Remove one option for faster decisions. Remove one option for faster decisions means deliberately limiting choices to accelerate decision-making. More options seem better. They provide flexibility and control. But they also create paralysis. Research shows that too many choices decrease satisfaction and delay decisions. Removing options can improve both speed and satisfaction. Identify decisions where you consistently get stuck. Restaurant menus with too many choices. Streaming services with endless content. Shopping sites with overwhelming options. For these situations, create artificial constraints. Pick 3 potential restaurants before looking at menus. Choose from your watch list instead of browsing everything available. Use pre-made decision frameworks to eliminate options automatically. Always choose the healthiest menu option. Always pick the book recommended by someone you trust. Always select the meeting time that works for the most people. These rules remove the need to evaluate every alternative repeatedly. For important decisions, limit yourself to 3 good options maximum. Research shows 3 is often the sweet spot. Fewer than 3 might not capture the best possibilities. More than 3 creates unnecessary complexity. 3 options provide choice without overwhelming analysis. Apply this principle to recurring decisions. Create a standard work uniform to eliminate daily clothing choices. Establish regular meal rotations to avoid constant meal planning. Set up default responses for common situations. These systemized choices free mental energy for more important decisions. Keep a personal idea bank. Keep a personal idea bank means maintaining a system for capturing and organizing your thoughts. Good ideas come at inconvenient times. In the shower. While driving. During conversations. Most people lose these insights because they don't capture them immediately. An idea bank preserves these valuable thoughts for later development and use. Use whatever capture system works for your lifestyle. A notebook you always carry. A voice recorder app on your phone. A dedicated folder in your digital notes. The key is having something immediately accessible when inspiration strikes. Ideas are fleeting. You must capture them quickly or lose them forever. Don't judge ideas when capturing them. Write everything down. Bad ideas can lead to good ideas. Incomplete thoughts can spark complete solutions later. The capture phase is about quantity, not quality. Evaluation comes later when you review your bank regularly. Organize your ideas into categories that make sense for your goals. Work projects. Creative pursuits. Personal development. Problem solutions. Random observations. This organization makes it easier to find relevant ideas when you need them. It also helps you see patterns in your thinking. Review your idea bank regularly. Weekly or monthly reviews help you identify themes. They remind you of forgotten insights. They show you which ideas still excite you and which have lost their appeal. Some ideas will combine into bigger concepts. Others will inspire immediate action. Avoid sunk cost fallacy. Avoid sunk cost fallacy means making decisions based on future value, not past investment. The fallacy tricks you into continuing bad situations because you've already invested time, money, or energy. You stay in the wrong job because you've been there 5 years. You finish boring books because you're halfway through. You continue failed projects because you've already spent so much. This backwards thinking wastes additional resources on top of what you've already lost. Sunk costs are gone forever. They can't be recovered regardless of what you do next. The only question that matters is whether continuing makes sense based on future prospects. Will staying in this job improve your career from today forward? Will finishing this book provide value for the remaining pages? Will completing this project create meaningful results? Practice making fresh decisions regularly. Pretend you're encountering the situation for the first time. Would you start this job today? Would you begin reading this book now? Would you initiate this project with current knowledge? If the answer is no, the rational choice is to stop regardless of past investment. This principle applies to relationships, hobbies, business ventures, and daily activities. Past time spent learning guitar doesn't obligate you to continue if you no longer enjoy it. Previous investment in a failing business doesn't require throwing good money after bad. Yesterday's effort doesn't determine today's priorities. The key is separating emotional attachment from rational analysis. Acknowledge the loss. Feel disappointed about wasted effort. Then focus on making the best decision going forward with the information you have now. Speak in stories for persuasion. Speak in stories for persuasion means using narrative to make your messages more compelling and memorable. Facts tell, but stories sell. People remember stories far better than statistics. Stories engage emotions while data engages only logic. When you want to persuade, convince, or inspire others, wrap your message in narrative structure. Stories work because they mirror how humans naturally process information. We think in sequences. We relate to characters. We understand cause and effect through narrative flow. When you present information as story, you're working with the brain's natural patterns instead of against them. Structure your persuasive stories simply. Start with a relatable character facing a challenge similar to your audience's situation. Show the struggle and obstacles they encountered. Reveal the solution or approach that led to success. Connect this solution to the action you want your audience to take. Use specific details to make stories feel real and credible. Don't say, "A client increased sales." Say, "Sarah from the marketing team increased her team's sales by 30% in 3 months by implementing weekly feedback sessions." Specific names, numbers, and time frames make stories believable. Keep stories concise and relevant. Long rambling narratives lose impact. Focus on one clear point per story. Make sure the story directly supports your main message. Irrelevant details distract from your persuasive goal. Practice collecting stories from your experience. Customer successes. Personal challenges overcome. Lessons learned from mistakes. Build a repertoire of narratives you can adapt for different audiences and situations. Pause before reacting emotionally. Pause before reacting emotionally means creating space between stimulus and response when feelings run high. Emotional reactions feel urgent. They demand immediate action. But acting on intense emotions often creates problems you later regret. The pause gives you time to choose your response rather than being controlled by automatic reactions. Strong emotions hijack rational thinking. When you're angry, scared, or hurt, your brain's alarm system takes control. It prioritizes quick reaction over careful consideration. This served our ancestors well when facing physical threats. But it works poorly for modern challenges that require thoughtful responses. The pause doesn't need to be long. Even 10 seconds can restore some rationality. Take a deep breath. Count to 10. Step away from the situation briefly. Ask yourself what response would serve you best in the long run. This small delay often prevents decisions you'd regret later. Use the pause to identify what you're really feeling. Are you angry about the current situation or frustrated about something else entirely? Are you responding to facts or to stories you're telling yourself about those facts? Often, examination reveals that your emotional intensity doesn't match the actual situation. During the pause, consider multiple response options. What would happen if you responded with curiosity instead of defensiveness? What if you asked questions instead of making accusations? What if you waited until tomorrow to address the issue? These alternatives often work better than your first emotional impulse. Reframe failure as feedback. Reframe failure as feedback means treating unsuccessful outcomes as information rather than judgment. Failure feels personal. It seems to reflect your worth or abilities. This emotional weight makes failure painful and something to avoid. But when you reframe failure as feedback, it becomes valuable data about what works and what doesn't. Every failure contains information about your approach, timing, preparation, or strategy. The business that didn't succeed teaches you about market demand. The relationship that ended shows you about compatibility and communication. The project that failed reveals gaps in planning or execution. This information is valuable if you're willing to extract it. Ask different questions about failures. Instead of, "Why am I so bad at this?" ask, "What did this teach me?" Instead of, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "What could I do differently next time?" These questions shift focus from self-judgment to learning and improvement. Separate the outcome from your identity. You're not a failure because something you tried didn't work. You're a person who tried something that didn't work this time. This distinction preserves self-worth while acknowledging reality. It keeps you willing to try again with better information. Look for patterns across multiple failures. What common elements appear in your unsuccessful attempts? These patterns often reveal blind spots or systematic problems you can address. Maybe you consistently underestimate time requirements. Maybe you avoid asking for help when needed. Maybe you quit too early when things get difficult. Ask, "What would future me thank me for?" Ask, "What would future me thank me for?" means making decisions from the perspective of your older, wiser self. Present bias makes you overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future benefits. You choose comfort now over growth later. You avoid short-term difficulty even when it leads to long-term gain. This question helps you think beyond the present moment. Imagine yourself 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years in the future. What actions would that version of you appreciate most? What habits would create the biggest positive impact over time? What investments in learning, health, or relationships would pay the biggest dividends? This future perspective often reveals the right choice. The question works especially well for avoiding temptation. When you want to skip exercise, eat junk food, or procrastinate on important tasks, ask what future you would prefer. Would tomorrow's version of you thank you for the extra sleep or for the morning workout? Would next month's version appreciate the indulgent meal or the healthy choice? Use this thinking for positive decisions too. What skills would future you wish you had started learning today? What relationships would benefit from more attention now? What problems would be easier to solve with early action? These insights guide you toward choices that compound positively over time. Make the future version of yourself vivid and specific. Picture where you'll be living, what you'll be doing, what challenges you might face. The more real future you feels, the more motivating this perspective becomes for present decisions. Learn in spaced intervals. Learn in spaced intervals means distributing study sessions over time instead of cramming everything into single sessions. Most people learn in concentrated bursts. They spend hours studying the same material repeatedly in one sitting. This feels efficient because information is fresh in short-term memory. But spaced learning creates much stronger, more durable memories. The spacing effect works because forgetting and relearning strengthens memory pathways. When you study something, then wait until you almost forget it, then study it again, the memory becomes more robust. Each retrieval from increasingly distant memory makes the information more permanently accessible. Space your learning sessions across days, weeks, and months. Review new material the next day, then 3 days later, then a week later, then a month later. This expanding schedule maximizes retention while minimizing total study time. You'll remember more with less effort than traditional cramming approaches. Use spaced intervals for any type of learning. New skills, languages, professional knowledge, personal development concepts. The principle works regardless of subject matter. What matters is the pattern of exposure, forgetting, and re-exposure over extended time periods. Combine spaced intervals with active recall for maximum effectiveness. Don't just reread material during review sessions. Test yourself. Explain concepts from memory. Apply knowledge to new situations. This combination of spacing and retrieval practice creates extremely durable learning. Use a one-word theme for the year. Use a one-word theme for the year means choosing a single focus word to guide decisions and priorities throughout the year. Resolutions are specific but often forgotten. Goals are measurable but sometimes rigid. A theme word is flexible yet directional. It provides consistent guidance without overwhelming detail. It helps you stay aligned with what matters most. Choose a word that represents how you want to grow or what you want to emphasize. Focus, if you tend to spread attention too thin. Health, if you want to prioritize physical well-being. Connection, if relationships need attention. Simplicity, if life feels too complicated. The word should resonate emotionally and provide clear direction. Use your theme word as a decision filter throughout the year. When facing choices, ask which option better aligns with your word. If your word is growth, choose challenges over comfort. If it's balance, avoid extremes in any direction. If it's courage, pick the scarier but more meaningful path. Let the word evolve in meaning as the year progresses. Focus might start as productivity focus but shift to relationship focus later. Strength could begin as physical strength but develop into emotional resilience. This flexibility keeps the theme relevant as circumstances change. Review your word regularly. Monthly check-ins help you assess how well you're living according to your theme. Are your actions aligned with your word? What adjustments would better honor your chosen focus? This review keeps the theme active rather than forgotten. Practice mental contrasting. Practice mental contrasting means combining positive visualization with realistic obstacle planning. Most people either visualize success without considering challenges, or focus on obstacles without imagining success. Mental contrasting does both. You envision your desired outcome clearly, then identify specific barriers you'll likely face, then plan how to overcome them. Start with detailed positive visualization. Picture your goal achieved. What does success look like? How do you feel? What has changed in your life? Make this vision vivid and compelling. This positive imagery motivates action and clarifies what you're working toward. Next, identify realistic obstacles between you and your goal. What internal barriers might stop you? Lack of motivation, skill gaps, competing priorities. What external challenges could arise? Time constraints, resource limitations, other people's resistance. Be honest about likely difficulties. Finally, create specific if-then plans for each obstacle. If I lose motivation, then I'll review my reasons for pursuing this goal. If time becomes tight, then I'll wake up 30 minutes earlier. If others resist my changes, then I'll explain the benefits clearly. These plans prepare you for challenges before they arise. Mental contrasting works better than positive thinking alone because it's realistic. It maintains optimism while acknowledging reality. It prevents the disappointment that comes from unexpected obstacles. It helps you persist through difficulties because you anticipated and planned for them. Seek asymmetric bets. Seek asymmetric bets means looking for opportunities where potential gains far exceed potential losses. Most people think linearly about risk and reward. They expect equal upside for equal downside. But the most successful decisions often involve asymmetric risk. Small investments that could produce massive returns. Limited downside with unlimited upside potential. Think about starting a side business. The downside is limited to your time investment and small startup costs. The upside could be financial freedom and career transformation. Learning a new skill has minimal downside beyond time spent, but it could open entirely new career paths or creative outlets. Look for bets where you can afford to lose the investment completely, but the potential gains are life-changing. Reading books has tiny costs but can transform your thinking. Meeting new people requires small time investments but could lead to partnerships, friendships, or opportunities. Taking calculated career risks might set you back months but could advance you years. Asymmetric bets often involve learning, relationships, and creative pursuits. These areas tend to have compounding returns that aren't immediately obvious. The person you help today might help you tremendously later. The skill you develop as a hobby might become professionally valuable. The project you start for fun might become a business. Avoid symmetric bets where losses and gains are roughly equal. Don't risk money you can't afford to lose for modest returns. Don't sacrifice important relationships for small conveniences. Focus on opportunities where the worst case is manageable and the best case is transformational. Build mental models for decisions. Build mental models for decisions means developing frameworks that simplify complex thinking. Mental models are simplified representations of how things work. They help you understand patterns, predict outcomes, and make better choices. Without good models, you approach each decision from scratch. With them, you can quickly assess situations and identify the most important factors. Start with basic models that apply broadly. The 80-20 rule helps you focus on what matters most. Opportunity cost reminds you that every choice involves trade-offs. Compound interest shows how small actions accumulate over time. Systems thinking helps you see connections between seemingly unrelated events. Collect models from different disciplines. Psychology teaches you about cognitive biases and human behavior. Economics provides frameworks for understanding incentives and markets. Biology offers insights about adaptation and evolution. Each field contributes useful ways of thinking about problems. Apply multiple models to important decisions. One model might suggest action while another suggests caution. This tension often reveals important nuances you'd miss with single model thinking. The intersection of different perspectives usually contains the most insight. Practice using models regularly until they become automatic. When facing any significant choice, quickly run through your key frameworks. What would the 80-20 rule suggest? What are the opportunity costs? What incentives are at play? What could compound over time? This systematic approach improves decision quality and speed. Apply the rule of 3 for focus. Apply the rule of 3 for focus means limiting priorities to 3 items for maximum effectiveness. The human brain handles 3 things well. 3 is enough to avoid oversimplification. 3 is few enough to maintain focus. More than 3 priorities usually means no real priorities. Everything feels equally important, so nothing gets adequate attention. Use the rule at different time scales. 3 priorities for the year. 3 goals for the month. 3 tasks for the day. This creates nested focus that cascades from long-term vision to immediate action. Each level supports the others while maintaining manageable scope. When choosing your 3 items, pick different types when possible. 1 creative project, 1 relationship goal, 1 health priority. 1 urgent task, 1 important task, 1 learning task. This variety prevents tunnel vision while maintaining focus. It ensures you're making progress across different life areas. Resist the temptation to add more items when you're doing well. Success makes everything seem possible. You want to take on additional priorities. But diluting focus usually reduces effectiveness across all areas. Better to excel at 3 things than to be mediocre at many. Review and adjust your 3 priorities regularly. Monthly for annual priorities. Weekly for monthly priorities. Daily for daily priorities. Things change. New opportunities arise. Old priorities become less relevant. Regular review keeps your 3 items aligned with current reality and goals. Ask what's missing. Ask what's missing means actively searching for gaps in your understanding, planning, or approach. Most people focus on what they know and what they're doing. They optimize existing elements. But often the missing pieces matter more than the present ones. The unasked questions. The unconsidered factors. The overlooked stakeholders. These gaps create blind spots that lead to poor decisions. Use this question when analyzing any situation. What information don't you have that would be useful? What perspectives haven't you considered? What assumptions are you making that might be wrong? What risks haven't you planned for? This proactive gap analysis prevents problems before they occur. Apply the question to your goals and plans. What resources will you need that you haven't secured? What skills will be required that you haven't developed? What obstacles might arise that you haven't considered? What support will you need that you haven't requested? Missing elements often determine success more than present elements. Ask what's missing from your routine mental diet. What types of information do you consistently avoid? What viewpoints never reach your attention? What expertise would help you but remains outside your network? Filling information gaps improves decision-making and broadens perspective. Use the question for creative projects too. What elements would make this better? What audience needs aren't being addressed? What use cases haven't been considered? What features would be valuable but aren't obvious? Missing elements often contain breakthrough opportunities. Seek disconfirming evidence. Seek disconfirming evidence means actively looking for information that contradicts your beliefs and assumptions. Confirmation bias makes you seek information that supports what you already think. This feels good but doesn't improve your understanding. Disconfirming evidence challenges your thinking. It reveals flaws in your logic. It prevents costly mistakes based on wrong assumptions. For any important belief or decision, ask what evidence would prove you wrong. What facts would change your mind? What data would suggest a different conclusion? Then actively search for this contrary information. Don't just hope to stumble across it. Deliberately seek it out. Read sources that disagree with your political views. Talk to people who made different career choices. Study companies that succeeded with approaches opposite to yours. Research investment strategies that contradict your philosophy. This exposure helps you understand your own thinking better. When evaluating ideas, look for base rates and historical failures. If you're considering starting a business, research how many similar businesses fail and why. If you're making an investment, study what percentage of similar investments lose money. This sobering data balances optimistic projections. Play devil's advocate with your own plans. What could go wrong? What are you overlooking? Where might you be overconfident? This self-criticism feels uncomfortable but improves decision quality. Better to find problems in the planning stage than in the execution stage. Use boredom to incubate creativity. Use boredom to incubate creativity means embracing unstimulated time to allow innovative thinking. Modern life eliminates boredom. Every spare moment gets filled with podcasts, social media, news, or entertainment. Your brain never gets truly quiet. But boredom serves an important function. It allows your mind to wander. It enables new connections between ideas. It creates space for creativity to emerge. Schedule regular boredom into your routine. Take walks without podcasts. Sit quietly without your phone. Stare out the window during breaks. Let your mind drift without directing it toward specific topics. This feels wasteful initially. But it often produces insights you wouldn't generate through focused effort. Boredom works because it activates your brain's default mode network. This system becomes active when you're not focused on specific tasks. It processes recent experiences. It makes new connections between disparate ideas. It generates creative solutions to problems you've been carrying subconsciously. Use boring activities strategically for creative work. Do mundane tasks like folding laundry or washing dishes when you're stuck on creative projects. Take long showers when you need new ideas. Go for aimless drives when you're facing difficult decisions. These activities occupy just enough attention to prevent overthinking while leaving space for insights. Resist the urge to immediately capture every idea that emerges during boredom. Some thoughts are worth recording, but others are just mental noise. Let ideas flow without judgment. The really good ones will return. The mediocre ones will fade naturally. Audit commitments for energy. Audit commitments for energy means regularly reviewing your obligations to ensure they still serve your goals and values. Over time, you accumulate commitments. Some were made with good intentions but no longer fit your priorities. Others seemed small initially but became energy drains. Many were never consciously chosen but accepted by default. These misaligned commitments waste your most precious resource, focused energy. List all your current commitments. Work responsibilities. Social obligations. Volunteer activities. Regular meetings. Subscriptions. Memberships. Hobbies. Everything that requires your ongoing time and attention. This comprehensive inventory reveals how scattered your energy might be. Evaluate each commitment against your current priorities and energy levels. Does this obligation still align with your goals? Does it energize or drain you? What would happen if you stopped doing it? Who would be affected and how significantly? Be honest about commitments you maintain from guilt, habit, or social pressure rather than genuine value. Create 3 categories. Keep commitments that align with priorities and energize you. Modify commitments that serve important purposes but could be adjusted for better energy return. Eliminate commitments that no longer serve you or consistently drain energy without compensating benefits. Plan your exits gracefully. Give appropriate notice. Help find replacements when possible. Explain your reasoning honestly but diplomatically. Most people understand that priorities change over time. They respect clear communication about boundaries more than reluctant ongoing participation. Do the hardest task first. Do the hardest task first means tackling your most challenging work when your mental energy is highest. Willpower and focus diminish throughout the day. Easy tasks feel more appealing as you get tired. But morning energy is precious. Using it on simple activities wastes your peak performance hours on work that could be done with minimal mental resources. Identify your hardest task the night before. This could be the most intellectually demanding work. The task you've been avoiding. The project requiring the most creativity. The conversation you're dreading. Knowing your hard task in advance prevents decision fatigue in the morning when energy is fresh. Start immediately without checking email, news, or social media. These activities fragment your attention and trigger reactive mode. They make you feel busy without accomplishing meaningful work. Save them for later when your energy is naturally lower and you need less demanding activities. Break hard tasks into smaller pieces if they feel overwhelming. You don't need to complete everything at once. But starting when energy is high creates momentum that carries forward throughout the day. Even partial progress on difficult work feels more satisfying than completing many easy tasks. Use early completion of hard tasks to set a positive tone for the entire day. When you tackle challenges first, everything else feels manageable by comparison. You build confidence and momentum that improves performance on subsequent activities. The psychological boost alone makes this strategy worthwhile. Use pre-mortems before projects. Use pre-mortems before projects means imagining failure before it happens to prevent it from occurring. Most project planning focuses on success. Teams discuss what needs to go right. They allocate resources optimistically. They assume things will work as planned. But projects fail for predictable reasons that optimistic planning overlooks. Pre-mortems reveal these failure modes before they become real problems. Gather your team and imagine the project has failed completely. Ask everyone to brainstorm specific reasons why it might have gone wrong. Technical problems. Communication breakdowns. Resource shortages. Scope creep. External changes. Team conflicts. Make the list comprehensive and specific. The more detailed your failure scenarios, the better your prevention strategies. For each potential failure mode, develop specific prevention strategies. If communication breakdown is a risk, establish regular check-ins and clear reporting structures. If scope creep threatens success, create change control processes. If resource shortages could derail progress, identify backup options or reduce scope proactively. Assign ownership for monitoring each risk throughout the project. Someone should watch for early warning signs of each failure mode. This early detection system allows you to address problems before they become crises. Prevention is always easier than recovery. Review your pre-mortem periodically as the project progresses. New risks may emerge. Old risks may become less relevant. Keep your failure prevention strategies current with changing circumstances. This ongoing vigilance dramatically improves project success rates compared to purely optimistic planning. Protect your attention like gold. Protect your attention like gold means treating focus as your most valuable resource. Attention determines the quality of your work and life. Distracted attention produces mediocre results. Focused attention creates excellence. Yet most people guard their money more carefully than their focus. They allow constant interruptions. They accept attention fragmentation as normal. This casual approach wastes your most precious asset. Identify what fragments your attention most severely. Email notifications. Social media. News alerts. Open browser tabs. Unnecessary meetings. Chatty colleagues. Each interruption doesn't just steal the moment. It requires time to refocus afterward. These transition costs accumulate into massive attention waste. Create physical and digital barriers to protect focused work time. Turn off notifications during deep work sessions. Close unnecessary browser tabs and applications. Use website blockers for distracting sites. Work in quiet spaces when possible. Wear headphones to signal unavailability. These barriers prevent automatic attention hijacking. Batch attention-consuming activities into specific time blocks. Check email 3 times daily instead of constantly. Scroll social media for 15 minutes after lunch instead of throughout the day. Handle phone calls during designated hours instead of whenever they come in. This batching preserves long blocks of uninterrupted focus time. Say no to attention requests that don't align with your priorities. Decline meetings that could be emails. Avoid projects that don't advance your goals. Limit social obligations that drain energy without providing value. Your attention budget is finite. Spend it intentionally on what matters most. Use deliberate discomfort to grow. Use deliberate discomfort to grow means intentionally seeking challenging situations that expand your capabilities. Comfort feels good but doesn't create development. Growth requires stretching beyond current limits. This means embracing situations that feel awkward, scary, or difficult. The discomfort signals you're entering territory where learning and adaptation occur. Choose discomforts that align with your growth goals. Want to become a better speaker? Join Toastmasters or volunteer for presentations. Want to build physical strength? Exercise at intensities that challenge your current fitness level. Want to improve social skills? Initiate conversations with strangers. Each uncomfortable situation builds specific capabilities. Start small and increase gradually. Massive discomfort can overwhelm and discourage continued effort. Small discomforts build confidence and resilience progressively. Take cold showers before attempting ice baths. Give short presentations before keynoting conferences. Have difficult conversations with friends before confronting difficult bosses. Reframe discomfort as information rather than suffering. Physical discomfort during exercise signals muscles adapting and growing stronger. Social discomfort during networking indicates you're expanding your relationship circle. Professional discomfort during challenging projects means you're developing new skills. This mental reframe makes discomfort more tolerable and purposeful. Track your comfort zone expansion over time. Notice activities that used to feel impossible but now seem routine. Celebrate progress in your capacity to handle difficulty. This recognition reinforces the value of deliberate discomfort and motivates continued growth-oriented challenges. Think in decades, act in days. Think in decades, act in days means balancing long-term vision with immediate action. Most people either get lost in distant dreams without taking concrete steps, or focus so intensely on daily tasks that they lose sight of bigger purposes. Effective people do both. They maintain clear long-term direction while taking specific daily actions that compound toward that vision. Develop a clear picture of where you want to be in 10, 20, or 30 years. What kind of person do you want to become? What impact do you want to have? What legacy do you want to leave? This long-term thinking provides direction for shorter-term decisions. It helps you say no to opportunities that don't align with your ultimate vision. Break your decade vision into yearly milestones. Then break yearly milestones into quarterly goals. Then break quarterly goals into monthly priorities. Then break monthly priorities into weekly actions. Then break weekly actions into daily tasks. This cascading breakdown connects your biggest dreams to your smallest actions. Make daily choices that compound toward your decade vision. Read books that develop relevant knowledge. Build relationships with people who share similar values. Develop skills that will become more valuable over time. Make investments that grow through compound returns. Small daily decisions accumulate into massive long-term results. Review the connection between daily actions and decade vision regularly. Are your current activities moving you toward your long-term goals? Are you spending time on things that won't matter in 10 years while neglecting things that will? This regular alignment check keeps you on track despite daily pressures and distractions. Ask, compared to what? Ask, compared to what, means evaluating everything in context rather than in isolation. Most judgments are meaningless without comparison points. Is this price high or low? Is this performance good or bad? Is this opportunity attractive or unattractive? The answer depends entirely on what you're comparing it to. This question forces you to make comparisons explicit and therefore more accurate. When someone claims something is expensive, ask compared to what? Compared to similar products? Compared to the value it provides? Compared to the cost of not having it? These different comparison points often lead to different conclusions about whether the price is reasonable. Apply this thinking to personal performance evaluations. When you feel you're not progressing fast enough, ask compared to what? Compared to where you started? Compared to others with similar backgrounds? Compared to the difficulty of what you're attempting? Context often reveals that your progress is actually quite good. Use comparative thinking for opportunity evaluation. When considering a job change, don't just evaluate the new position in isolation. Compare it to your current job. Compare it to other available opportunities. Compare it to what might be possible if you stayed and improved your current situation. This comprehensive comparison leads to better decisions. The question works for both positive and negative evaluations. When something seems great, ask what you're comparing it to. Your frame of reference might be too narrow. When something seems terrible, the same question might reveal that it's actually reasonable given the alternatives or circumstances. Mentally simulate best/worst scenarios. Mentally simulate best/worst scenarios means imagining extreme outcomes to prepare for uncertainty and reduce anxiety. Most planning assumes moderate, predictable outcomes. But reality often delivers surprises. Sometimes things go much better than expected. Sometimes they go much worse. Mental simulation of extreme scenarios helps you prepare for a wider range of possibilities. Start with worst-case scenario planning. What's the absolute worst that could happen with this decision? Be specific and realistic. How would you handle that outcome? What resources would you need? What recovery strategies could you employ? This preparation reduces anxiety because you have plans for even dire circumstances. Next, imagine best-case scenarios. What's the most positive outcome possible? How would you capitalize on exceptional success? What resources would you need to handle rapid growth or unexpected opportunities? What problems might come with overwhelming success? Even positive outcomes can create challenges you should anticipate. Use scenario simulation for both major decisions and daily activities. Imagine the best and worst outcomes for job interviews, investment choices, relationship decisions, and creative projects. This range thinking prevents both naive optimism and paralyzing pessimism. You're prepared for multiple possibilities rather than betting everything on one outcome. Create contingency plans for the most likely scenarios within your best and worst cases. You probably won't experience the absolute extremes, but you might encounter variations. Having thought through the edges helps you adapt when reality falls somewhere in between your simulations. Celebrate micro wins. Celebrate micro wins means acknowledging small progress to maintain motivation and momentum. Big goals take time to achieve. Months or years can pass between major milestones. Without celebrating smaller victories along the way, you lose motivation. You feel like you're not making progress. You give up before reaching your destination. Micro-win celebration provides the emotional fuel needed for long-term effort. Define what constitutes a micro-win for your goals. Completing daily writing sessions if you're working on a book. Having productive conversations if you're building relationships. Finishing learning modules if you're developing skills. Making these small achievements visible and meaningful sustains effort when larger rewards feel distant. Create simple celebration rituals for micro-wins. Check items off lists with satisfying marks. Share progress with supportive friends. Give yourself small rewards like favorite snacks or brief entertainment. Take photos to document progress. These celebrations don't need to be elaborate. They just need to acknowledge forward movement. Track micro-wins visually when possible. Use progress bars, calendars, or charts that show accumulating achievement. Visual progress is more motivating than mental tracking alone. Seeing the pattern of small wins builds confidence that larger goals are achievable through continued effort. Balance celebration with continued effort. Micro-wins should motivate continued action, not justify stopping. Celebrate the progress, then immediately focus on the next small step. This rhythm of acknowledgement and continued movement maintains momentum toward larger goals while providing emotional satisfaction along the journey. Use time boxing for deep work. Use time boxing for deep work means allocating specific time blocks exclusively to focused, uninterrupted work on important tasks. Deep work requires sustained attention. But modern environments fragment focus constantly. Time boxing creates protected periods where you can think deeply, solve complex problems, and produce high-quality output. Without these boundaries, deep work gets crowded out by reactive, shallow activities. Schedule time boxes like important meetings. Put them on your calendar. Defend them from other requests. Communicate to others when you'll be unavailable. Treat deep work time as sacred rather than optional. If you wouldn't cancel a client meeting for random interruptions, don't cancel deep work time either. Choose time box lengths that match your attention span and energy levels. Start with shorter blocks if you're not used to sustained focus. 90 minutes is often optimal for many people. Some can go longer. Others need shorter periods. Experiment to find what works for your brain and schedule. Consistency matters more than duration. Eliminate all distractions during time boxes. Turn off notifications. Close unnecessary applications. Put your phone in another room. Use website blockers if needed. Tell people you're unavailable. The quality of deep work depends entirely on the quality of your attention. Even small distractions can derail complex thinking. Use the beginning of each time box to clarify your specific objective. What exactly will you accomplish during this session? Having a clear target prevents wandering and procrastination. It helps you use the protected time effectively rather than just sitting in front of your work without making progress. Practice gratitude before challenges. Practice gratitude before challenges means taking time to appreciate what you have before facing difficult situations. Most people dive straight into problems. They focus immediately on what's wrong, what needs fixing, what's causing stress. This negative focus drains energy and narrows thinking. Starting with gratitude shifts your mental state. It reminds you of your resources and support systems. It creates emotional resilience that carries you through difficulties. When you know a challenging conversation is coming, spend a few minutes appreciating the relationship. Remember good times together. Acknowledge their positive qualities. Value the opportunity to address issues rather than avoiding them. This grateful perspective makes you approach the conversation with connection rather than confrontation. Before tackling overwhelming projects, reflect on why you get to do this work. Appreciate the skills you've developed. Acknowledge the trust others have placed in you. Consider the impact you'll have when finished. This gratitude transforms burden into privilege. It energizes rather than depletes your motivation. Use gratitude before smaller daily challenges too. Appreciate having problems that others would envy. Be thankful for the strength to handle difficulties. Value the learning opportunities disguised as obstacles. This perspective shift doesn't eliminate challenges but changes how you experience them. Gratitude practice works because it activates different neural pathways than stress and worry. It floods your system with positive emotions that improve creativity and problem solving. It reminds you of past successes and available resources. It creates psychological safety that allows you to take appropriate risks and make necessary changes. The key is practicing this before you need it. Don't wait until you're overwhelmed to try gratitude. Build the habit during easier times. Then you'll have this mental tool ready when facing genuine difficulties. Look for hidden upside in setbacks. Look for hidden upside in setbacks means searching for unexpected benefits within disappointing outcomes. Every setback contains information. Every failure teaches lessons. Every rejection redirects you toward better opportunities. But these benefits aren't automatic. You have to look for them deliberately. Most people focus only on what went wrong. They miss the hidden gifts that setbacks often contain. When projects fail, examine what you learned about planning, execution, or market conditions. These insights improve future projects. When relationships end, consider what you discovered about compatibility, communication, or your own needs. This knowledge helps you build better relationships going forward. When opportunities disappear, look for how this creates space for different possibilities you hadn't considered. Sometimes setbacks prevent bigger problems you couldn't see at the time. The job you didn't get might have been a poor fit. The investment that fell through might have lost money. The relationship that ended might have become toxic. What felt like failure might actually have been protection from worse outcomes. Setbacks also build resilience and character. They prove you can survive disappointment. They develop your problem-solving abilities. They make you more empathetic to others facing difficulties. These personal growth benefits compound over time into significant advantages. The practice requires patience. Hidden upsides often aren't immediately visible. They emerge weeks, months, or even years later. Keep a journal of setbacks and periodically review them. You'll be surprised how often something that seemed purely negative later contributed to positive outcomes you couldn't have imagined at the time. Use curiosity as a trigger. Use curiosity as a trigger means replacing automatic emotional reactions with genuine interest and inquiry. When someone says something that normally makes you angry, defensive, or judgmental, curiosity creates a pause. Instead of reacting immediately, you become interested in understanding. Why do they think that? What experiences led to that conclusion? What might I be missing? This shift from reaction to curiosity improves relationships and learning. Curiosity works because it activates different brain networks than defensive reactions. When you're curious, you're in learning mode rather than threat mode. Your thinking becomes more flexible. Your responses become more thoughtful. You gather information instead of just defending positions. This leads to better outcomes in almost every situation. Practice curiosity triggers in daily interactions. When someone criticizes your work, get curious about their perspective before defending yourself. When family members act in ways that annoy you, become interested in what might be driving their behavior. When news stories make you angry, explore what factors might be contributing to the situation. Use curiosity for self-awareness too. When you feel strong emotions, get curious about what's really happening inside you. Are you actually angry about the current situation or something else entirely? What need isn't being met? What fear might be activated? This self-curiosity prevents emotional reactions you later regret. The key is making curiosity feel genuine rather than manipulative. People can sense when you're asking questions to trap them rather than understand them. True curiosity comes from recognizing that other perspectives might contain useful information you're currently missing. Speak last in groups. Speak last in groups means waiting to hear others before sharing your own thoughts and opinions. Most people want to speak first. They jump into conversations quickly. They share their ideas immediately. But speaking first biases the entire discussion. Others adjust their contributions based on what you've already said. You hear less diversity of thought. You miss insights that would have emerged if people felt free to share original thinking. When you speak last, you gather more information before forming conclusions. You hear perspectives you might not have considered. You understand the full range of opinions before adding your voice. This additional input often leads to better decisions than jumping in with initial reactions. Speaking last also encourages others to contribute more freely. When authority figures or strong personalities speak early, quieter members often stay